or what do you do? That is the key, because if you can't say that, you're not going to do very, very well with anything else. You have to at least be able to tell everyone what's on your shingle, as we say, right? And so that's my favorite catchphrase for understanding what you do, what's on your shingle. So look at it this way. Let's say you're walking in a downtown and you see, the boarded up stores that you always see, the ones with paper. Maybe they're old and dusty and haven't been open for a long time. And you think to yourself, I wonder what they did, right? I wonder what they sold in that store. What was on their shingle, right? And so that's what I want you to think about with your brand and with your what you do is, if you can identify in one word or one sentence what you do. So if somebody's walking by your storefront downtown and you put out your shingle, do they know what you do without having to try to peer through the glass and figure it out on their own? Because how many of you have done that? You've seen stores and you're like, wonder what they sell, because you can't tell by the name. You thought it was a cool, they might have thought it was a cool name that they came up with, but it doesn't say anything about what they do. And essentially what we want to do with our signature message, our elevator speech, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have a right or wrong. You can call it whatever you want, but essentially what you're trying to do is grab attention, right? You're trying to grab attention. You're trying to create intrigue, trying to make a lasting impression so people really understand it. But at the same time, you have to communicate value, right? You have to communicate what you did or what you're doing and how you can bring value if they walk into your storefront, which is, metaphor for whatever your brand is. And if you get that right, how many of you, when you get it right, you're just uber confident then, right? You feel completely different walking into a networking event than you did before, because most people are only afraid of going to networking events because they don't know how to get it out of their mouth, right? That's what they're afraid of. They're not afraid of talking to people if they know what they're talking about. But for so many of us, we can talk for an hour or two about what we do, but then if you ask us to shorten it, we can't do it, right? That's the part that's the problem. And really, when you get this down, you're going to save yourself so much time and stress. And if you're still not confident, maybe you need to see Renee, because she can help you with it, with some of her strategies. But I really want to focus on really unearthing your core brand identity. And we talk about it a lot, right? We talk about it a lot. But we're going to do some work and some examples and some thinking, and then we're going to go to some strategic pieces. But I want you guys to kind of go blank slate and think about really your brand's core identity, what it is now. So if you can, grab a piece of paper or grab your laptop or whatever it is, and then jot down basically 3 words that describe really your brand's core purpose, right? Like, what is it that you do, or what problem you're solving in one sentence, in an essence, right? In essence, what is that brand that you do? So for example, let's take an activewear, yoga or something. So we could say something like, we craft sustainable activewear to empower women, to get to their goals with confidence, right? And you might put eco-friendly in there. You might put something else there. Think about, for example, Dove. Everyone knows Dove. I used to work for them. But Dove's Real Beauty campaign, everybody knows about that. That is truly a masterclass in branding, right? They got that right because, hey, they didn't just sell soap. They challenged all the beauty standards, right, into real beauty. That was their catchphrase. That was their tag. And they really got their brand down. They understood it. So they understood they wanted to challenge everything and say, you're beautiful as you are. When I worked for them, I was in charge of opening their spas. And so what the differentiation factor with our spas was that it was about real beauty, right? So it wasn't about trying to change anyone. So think about it. What is your brand's core purpose? What problem are you solving? Any of that. Does anyone want to give me some examples?
Yeah, so for me, I would say that I'm all about connecting people, connecting professional people together for business growth.
Great. So you know exactly what you're doing, which is important, right? So number one in understanding, because we're going back to basics. We're not starting with the I help people, right? We're going back to basics. What's your core message? What do you do? So if you get that right, I hope you guys jotted down a few words. If you get that right, your next step is, okay, you know what you do. Who do you do it for? Linda told us hers, right? So imagine your ideal customer walking through your door, right? Walking through their door. So who are they? Really, can you identify them and can you verbalize it? So, for example, and I'm going to send you guys, by the way, a new PDF for you guys to all be able to do this afterwards as well. But I want to walk you through these and make sure you're working. So if you know who your customer is, jot that down. Just in a couple words, right? So I'll give you an example. If you are a company that creates, for example, maybe you create sleep inducing things for babies, right? Maybe it's scents or oils or blankets that help a baby sleep. So who is the client? It's not the baby, it's the exhausted parents, right? That's your customer, not the baby, because the baby's not signing that check or ordering it online. It's the exhausted parents. So that's what I want you to think of. So who is your customer in a couple of words? That's it. If you don't know that, see, most of you guys, and we're guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it. Most of us say we know, but we don't really, when you actually have to write it down, you don't really know, because you might say, if you were that company, oh, well, it's babies that can't sleep. No, it's not, because they don't buy it, right? So I want you to really sharpen that focus on who exactly your customer is, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, good. So when you get that, then you can take your why, or what you do, right? That's basically essentially your why, right? What you do, your core purpose, who you do it for, and you combine it with your customer, right? You combine it with your customer, and that's the start of rewriting your message that makes it clear and concise, right? And we really only want it to be less than 20 words. Oh, Lisa's kind of crying now. so, so what we want to do is we want to make it short and sweet and to the point, right? So one of my favorites is taking a tagline, right? And then we'll show you how you take a tagline and a brand essence and move it into what you do. So let's start with the tagline. So one of my favorites is, tell me who this company is. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Go.
M&M's.
M&M's. Right. So they got it down. Real beauty was Dove. M&M's melt. Everybody knows it. So you immediately know what they're selling, right? I'm not saying, we're not moving it into what you do yet, but we're telling you the brand essence. Remember, we're getting from brand essence, what you do, what your why is, to your customer. And now we're going to go forward with it. But I want you to, why did I bring up M&M's? Because I want you to understand the clarity of the message, right? They are really clear. That's what they want you to remember, right? And so by doing that, it helps them craft, anyone that works at M&M's would know, it helps them craft their message. So let's look at some people that you might know. Okay. So how many of you have read Atomic Habits by James Clear? Great. So he writes a book. It's called Atomic Habits. And really his tagline is, I'm going to read it for you: small changes, remarkable results. So he focuses on practicality and the power of small adjustments, right? So that's his essence. That's his brand. So if I was to ask James Clear, and I don't have this verbatim, I made it up. So if I asked James Clear, what do you do? He might say, I teach individuals how to build positive habits and break negative ones for lasting change and growth, because that's what he does. So it's very clear. He got his essence down and he knows what to say. So let's do another one. Everyone know Marie Kondo. Who doesn't know her? The joy of magic of tidying up. Yeah, like we like to read her books and then not do anything she says. That one, yeah. So her essence is the life-changing magic of tidying up. Spark joy by discarding what doesn't spark joy. That's her tag. That's what her book's about. It's memorable. It emphasizes the emotional benefit, right, of her method, right? Because it says spark joy by cleaning. Like, it's interesting, but it's true, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to do that. So if I said to Marie, what do you do? She might say, I help people declutter their homes and spark joy by keeping only things that bring them happiness. Pretty easy to understand what she does, right? So it's not life-altering, earth-shaking rocket science here. So the problem most of us have is we have all this stuff and we don't know how to bring it in because we're afraid to limit, and we don't want to do that. So you want to do a couple more? I have a couple more for you. So anyone know Tim Ferriss? Tim Ferriss? Okay, so he writes a book called, lots of books, but one of it's Tool of the Titans. He does tactics and routines and habits of billionaires, icons, world-class performers. So he really focuses on his value proposition, right? So this is what he does. This is what all his books are about. You probably read some of them, you just don't know the titles. So if I asked him what he does, he might say, I share tactics, routines, and habits of successful people to help you achieve peak performance. So I know what he's going to do. He's not telling me he's giving me his stuff. He's saying, I went out there, got all the tactics, and I'm sharing them with my clients. I get it. I understand him. I know what I'm getting, right? And how many of you know Mel Robbins? Yes, most people know Mel Robbins. So her real tag is the 5-second rule. Transform your life, your work, and confidence in 5 seconds. It's simple, it's quantifiable, right? And it promises results. So she might say, if I said, hey, Mel, what do you do? I empower people to overcome fear and take action with my simple 5-second rule. It doesn't matter what you're fearful of or what you're not taking action in, because when she says that, you're like, oh, it responds to anyone who has fear or not taken action, right? Because oh, she works with anyone that has fear and isn't taking action, and she does it by teaching you her 5-second rule. I understand it. It makes sense. So these are incredibly successful people that have really microed down what they do. Remember, most people keep it wide because they're afraid, right? They're afraid to limit what they do. But here are the most successful people in the world, and they're very, very focused on their message. Does that make sense to you guys all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the big picture is real simple. The big picture is knowing what you do, knowing who your target audience is, and then putting it in a little tiny mouthful. And really, that mouthful depends on your business and what you're trying to achieve. So when you're doing signature message, the module that's in our courses, we go through a lot of different exercises. And it's because for most of us, we don't really know everything we do, or we don't really know what the transformation is when we help people, or really what our product does to transform people. So we go through the whole thing, but I'm going to go through a couple of quick formulas for you guys, and I want you guys to try them. Okay? I want you to try them. So these are what I call shingle formulas. So we're going to go for it. And the first one is called WHY, WHY. So they're all very short acronyms for you guys to understand. So I want you to get your paper and pen. I'm going to give you a couple minutes each time, right? And I want you to, let's start with the why formula. So W, why you do it. So identify again your core purpose and the problem you solve, or for lack of a better word, and I don't like this word, for the passion you ignite. So what is your why you do it? Can you answer that? Your core purpose or the problem you solve. Very simple, guys. If you can't answer the problem you solve, then that's a problem. So nobody should be going, what should I say? And you can have different messages if you have different pieces of your business, but focus on one, because I'm going to show you the difference between three formulas I'm going to teach you so that you can go, oh, this is the one that works for me. This is what makes it simple. And this is the one I want to use going forward. So real simple. The H is hone your audience. So again, define your ideal customer and their needs and desires. So remember those exhausted parents, right? That was very clear. So the why in their case would have simply been, I want to help people. Exhausted parents get sleep. The audience was exhausted parents, right? It was very simple. They didn't do a big, long list of everyone they helped, because let's face it, you could help a lot more, but let's focus and niche it down. Then you want to create a why, which is your compelling message, right? So you take those two and you put it together. So again, real simple, grab your paper, write down the why, fill in the blanks for the WHY. You guys doing it? Because I'm going to come up and ask you later, so you better write this down. So that's formula one, why. Okay? Anyone having any problems? I hope not. Okay. So that's one. So we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to word it differently to see if this sparks you. Because sometimes people don't like the word why, right? I'm not a big fan of that. I don't love the whys that much, but so let's try this other formula, and I call it PIC, P-I-C. So P, write it down, big P on your paper, stands for the problem and the promise. So identify the problem you're solving and the promise that your brand offers to solve it. What's the problem that customer that you know has? And what's the promise that you deliver to solve it? You guys should, this is like 101, guys. You need to have this to do anything else in your business. So that's the P. The I is intrigue and identity. So intrigue your audience with a benefit that they can't resist, right? And capture your brand's unique identity. So think about, what intriguing benefit do you have in your brand or in your solution? You see the difference? We're talking about the same things, but depending on how your brain works, it will identify one of these formulas that works better for you. And when you put together your mouthful, you'll be using one of these. The C stands for clarity and concision, conciseness, however you want to say it. You want to keep your answer clear, concise, and easy to use in what? A single sentence, right? So picture, maybe think about it this way. So I want you to picture, imagine your ideal customer is struggling with a problem. So really quickly, this is for the P, jot down what the problem is and visualize your brand offering the solution. So visualize that and write that promise down. Maybe if that's easier for you to understand, problem and promise. I is simple, right? Brainstorm your solution. Why is it irresistible amongst others? And I don't want, here's where everyone gets stuck. most people don't want to say, hey, my solution is way better than these other ones, right? Because I know most of us are thinking, oh, there's so many other people who are doing it, or there's other brands, but you can't think that way. I want you to think of why yours is unique, why it's intriguing, what makes it special, right? So then you combine those two, you craft essentially your shingle, right? You combine your problem, your promise, and your benefit into your sentence, and that becomes the same thing. It becomes your unique message, your shingle, what you stand for. It's a little different. I'm going to show you using the same example how this all looks together, but I really want you, if you haven't done it, please get your piece of paper out. I want you to do the why. I want you to do the pick, right? How we just did it. And now I want you to do the same thing using the last formula, which I call STAR. So let's go. Ready? The S, stand out. Identify what makes your brand unique and different from competitors, right? You can brainstorm on this, right? Is it a unique service? Is it unique because of your expertise? Or is it because you have an innovative approach, right? I want you to really think about it. What makes you stand out, shine, makes you really appeal to somebody who's looking for your solution differently than somebody else? You're still doing the same thing. I'm just making you think outside your little tiny box that you've put yourself in. T is to target audience, target your tribe, however you want to say. Again, who is your ideal customer, and describe their challenges and their desires. I know it sounds like we're regurgitating, but we're not. I'm trying to make you think around what you're doing, because one of these will go, aha, this is how I can easily put together my message. Because maybe if you have struggled with your message, you've just not been putting it together right because it never resonated with you, right? If you hate the word why, you can't get past it. If you like to say, I want a message that I can stand out and I can shine, then maybe STAR is your formula to use to get you through it, right? So the A is action and advantage. So highlight the action that you take that provides the advantage to your audience. So what is it that you do or that your product does to provide the answer to your target audience? And then finally, the R, which is results, and it can be recognition too. So maybe you can emphasize, write it down right now. What are the concrete results that your brand or you deliver, and the recognition that it has earned, if it has, right? So you want to combine the tangible results with perhaps awards or recognition. It could be, 200 entrepreneurs have used this signature service to success, whatever it is. Or maybe it's that you've won awards for what you've done. Or maybe it's just the concrete results. But I really want you to focus on all of them, right? Because the STAR method really gives you a unique selling proposition, right? It highlights specific pieces and it says, oh, this is great because. You guys understanding this? Is it making sense? Yes? Shaking your heads is good. Thank you, Renee.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of them, and then I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what you're gaining from it. So, let's take a hypnotherapy coaching. Okay, we need a coach that does hypnotherapy, and they need their shingle. They need their shingle, and they don't know what to do. And they need to do it impactfully. They want to make sure their message comes across. So let's see if we use the formula. So let's try the why. So, hypnotherapy coach. Remember why? Why do you do it? Well, it's their passion for helping people conquer fears and achieving breakthroughs. That's their why. Their audience They hone your audience. The H is to target individuals struggling with specific phobias, anxieties, or limiting beliefs, right? That's their why and their audience. Pretty simple. So what would their message be if we use the why formula? It could be as simple as I empower individuals to break free from fear and unlock potential through hypnotherapy coaching. Pretty simple, right? Does it make sense? Didn't have to take this person, a week to figure out their message. It was that simple because they did the why formula very simply. That gives you enough confidence in that one simple message to be able to go out and network and do what you need. So let's take this same thing and go to using the pick formula. Okay. So let's same person, same thing. So problem and promise, the P. So what's the problem? Well, people feel held back by fear and anxiety. That's their problem. And what's my promise is that my hypnotherapy coaching offers a path to lasting freedom. So let's go to the I, the intrigue and the identity. Intrigue. Transform your life with the power of the subconscious mind. That's kind of cool. Not great in a mouthful, but it's interesting because it's unique and interesting. And then identity, an experienced hypnotherapy coach guiding you towards a fearless future. This is just what they're saying. This is trying to get to their message, right? They're trying to get to their message using a different formula. So here is their example then. When we want to be clear and concise, that's a C. I help people overcome fear and create lasting change with personalized hypnotherapy coaching. Little bit different, right? What was the first one? The why was I empower individuals to break free from fear and unlock their limitless potential through hypnotherapy coaching. The pick one came out as I help overcome fear and create lasting change with personalized hypnotherapy coaching. Are they the same thing? Pretty much, right? So why do it differently? Because one of those will resonate differently for you as the hypnotherapist. And then it's easier to say that little mouthful when you understand that that one makes more sense to you. So let's try the last one, the star one, okay? Same person. So S, stand out, focus. Your unique approach to hypnotherapy coaching, right? It's unique. You might be using rapid techniques, or you might be using something specific that makes you stand out. I don't know a lot about hypnotherapy, so I just said rapid techniques. I don't really know too much. But that's their standout. Who's their target audience? Here's the difference. People seeking a fast and effective solution to conquer their problems or their phobias. So how does that make, do you see the difference? Because they wanted to stand out because they have rapid techniques. So their target audience is a little different because they want people who want fast and effective solutions. Because some people don't. Some people want a 12-month solution. They want to see somebody once a month. This person targets this specifically. So the action and advantage, their action is rapid hypnotherapy coaching. The advantage is they experience lasting freedom in just a few sessions, right? This is the star formula. This is the one if you really want to stand out. You don't want to stand out and you're a little timid, this is not your formula. But this is the one that I like the best. And then we go to R, which is the results and the recognition. So the results, you really want to either mention success rates or client testimonials, etc., right? So you could say after all this, I help people break free from phobias in just a few sessions with my results-oriented hypnotherapy coaching. Do you see the difference in the feel of all three of those? Does that make sense to you guys? If not, you need to say, I don't understand, Faye. Do you guys make sense? Okay, so I've given you three formulas that you can use. So there really is no excuse for not coming up with a proper shingle. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take away what's holding you back from doing it because maybe that why didn't resonate with you, right? So here's the thing. I'm not a great why person, right? I'm not the person that says, well, because I want to help people gain results, to help increase their business. It's just not who I am. I'm more of the standout star person. I'm going to say, hey, which is, you guys know, in all of our marketing, Stacy's the same. What do we say? We give you step-by-step value, actionable training that you can implement right away. That's what we do. We're not shy about it. We're not saying, our why is to help. Yeah, we want to help you guys. We want to help entrepreneurs. That's a given, but that's not how we ever introduce ourselves. So for us, the why formula ain't going to cut it. The star formula, that's our formula. But for you, it might be the pick formula. And the pick formula is really about, remember, I'm going to give you a handout on these so you won't forget. But the pick formula is really instead of why. So why formula is why you're doing it, helping achieve results. The pick formula is focusing on the problem, not about your why. It's focusing on the problem and the promise, right? So for some people, that's really good. So problem, if you focus on a problem and your promise, it makes sense. For the rest of us, it's the STAR formula, which is how does our service, our product, our brand stand out amongst everybody else out there? Stacy and I are really, really clear about it, right? We know the difference, and the difference is every course that you take in Mastermind City gives you actionable steps to implement right away. Not a bunch of theory. It's about absolutely doing it. And that's what we focus on. So which formula is best for you depends on what your approach is and what your target audience is, right? So I want you to really experiment with it and craft the most impactful one, right? So I'm going to give you all these examples. Linda will send it all to you in a PDF, and you'll be able to look at it and go, maybe I've been doing it wrong. Maybe the reason I can't get it out of my mouth is because I'm focusing because somebody taught me about the why, and I didn't really focus on the other stuff. We're all about your unique advantage, what you bring to the table. So it really comes down to what you think, why you're doing it. Are you unique? Do you want to stand out? So if you do not want to stand out and you just love what you're doing and that's cool, and you just want to be able to say it in a mouthful, then stick with the why formula, right? That's very simple, right? Why you do it, what you're trying to solve for people, and this is who you're trying to solve it for, right? Makes sense. Can anyone tell me what they use basically? I know you didn't use the formula, but what are they using, and what are you using, and what seems to work for you? Or are you listening to me now and going, oh God, I should have used this instead? So I kind of look at it as the reason I came up with if you guys go through signature message, you'll see a very long way to do it. This isn't even in there because remember, I'm trying to get you in less than an hour to be able to come to your message. So you don't have all this. But basically how I look at it is when you're starting out anything, whether it's you or a brand or a product, the why is always the easiest, right? So that's the one that you guys have probably seen in a million trainings everywhere, because that's the first thing they say. Well, what's your why? Blah, blah, blah. And so that's where you start. When you start drilling down to pick, which is the intermediate one, right? It's more involved. So you're really, truly thinking about your promise and the intrigue. What is it that you can put together that really gets people interested without sounding, that you want to be different? It's just expansion of why, more in depth, right? And then obviously the star, which is that's why I called it star, is because you're excited. Like why? Here's I know I'm pushing that one a little bit. I want you guys to get there. Why? Because it sounds like you're excited about your brand when you get there, right? Because you can clearly identify what makes it different than everybody else, What makes you stand out, shine, be brighter? That's the real interesting one, but most people can't get there until you start with the other one. So it's not that you're doing it wrong. You're not. You have to start at the very simplistic ones to understand how to get you there. As Renee said, she's refining her message. She started with all those other ones. Now she's going to the other ones. That's important.